So in this short video, we're going to talk about how you connect your spray gun to your compressor, and James is going to go into more detail on the choice of hose and fittings you need in order to do that.
I am indeed. So we obviously need to get our air from our tank here to our spray gun in order to be able to spray.
Yeah.
So we can see on the bottom of the gun we have a male thread on there.
Yeah.
So we need to connect this here. When you buy a hose, it will typically come with 2 female threads. Obviously, we could screw that straight onto there.
Yeah.
On most compressors, they won't have a fitting, and you could then spray that. You could fit that straight onto the compressor as well.
Yeah.
However, if you need to take your gun off quickly, that is a bit of a faff, particularly
Yes.
when you've got paint in the gun. So you want to
Definitely.
try and avoid that completely. Now, there are a selection of fittings here that we are going to talk about. The problem we have is that you buy the equipment, but they don't come with any fittings as standard, and
Yeah.
we need to actually select ourselves what we want.
Yeah.
You go into a place like Machine Mart where they have boxes of all these different fittings, and it can be a minefield for somebody completely new to this type of equipment, can't it?
It can get rapidly confusing.
So what we are going to need here is a male fitting with a male thread,
Yeah.
and that will put us into the
Plug into
female coupling that's on this compressor.
Mm-hmm.
On the other end of the hose, we are going to need a female coupling with a male thread.
Yep.
And then on the end of the spray gun, we're going to need a male fitting with a female thread.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, we have 3 completely different fittings just to connect these together.
Yeah.
So it can be quite confusing.
Yeah.
I am going to let you very shortly go into a bit more detail on the fitting types and the sizes and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm briefly going to cover different types of hoses and what my preference would be.
Okay.
So for me, where I'm on site spraying all day long, I want to reduce the length on the end of my gun. I also want to reduce the weight, and I want as much flexibility and comfort as I can throughout my day of spraying.
Yeah.
So a hose like this, really good quality hose, nothing wrong with that.
Very good quality, yeah, from the automotive sector.
However, these are very, very stiff.
Yeah.
They're not overly flexible.
And they're strong. They're designed to be in a body shop where they might get accidentally run over, or they might get dragged along the ground. It's an industrial kind of process. They're designed to withstand all of that, and they're probably more than what we would need for on-site spraying.
On-site spraying, exactly that.
And they're heavier as well, yeah.
So let's look at a different type of hose. This is a little bit more flexible for the most part in the actual main of the hose. Yeah. However, these do have these pieces on the end here which are very, very stiff. By the time we had our gun connected to these, that is going to be a lot of weight on there, a lot of stiffness, and it's not going to be the most comfortable. In terms of being able to buy a single item that actually comes with fittings, in my opinion, there's nothing better than the Provost hoses. These are mega flexible. Yeah. Very, very lightweight as well, and the fittings on these are very, very high quality. These hoses are, even when they're pressurized, the flexibility stays. Yeah. If you compare it to your airless sprayer, if you've got experience of those, as that is pressurized, the hose itself stiffens up even more. This isn't the same with these airlines. These are very, very flexible, even at the full pressure that we need to spray at the other end. So these are my preference. They come with the hose already, which again saves you a little bit of a headache because we're able to connect this directly into the compressor. All we would need is a fitting on the end of the gun that then clips into here. These are really, really nice button fittings on here, so we can pop that in, and the release, little press there and a pop out. Yeah, very, very nice.
That's a lovely fitting. You actually you told me about these.
I did, yeah.
And so the other benefit of these is it stops that high pressure. With some connectors like these ones, for example, when you pull the collar back to release the fitting, you get a really loud when the air, and that can be really unpleasant to listen to. Whereas these have a soft, they still let the pressure out, but in a very soft way. You don't get that high pressure.
Yeah, they're nice and controlled, aren't they?
And it holds onto the hose, whereas you can get hose whip if you've got two hoses together and you pull that collar without holding onto this one, the other hose can fly.
Yes, it can indeed.
And,
something else I also like about these, because the fitting inside is similar to these, they're actually encased in the plastic. This, I find, keeps the ball bearings intact.
Yeah.
So actually, over time, these can sort of start to wear a little bit. These tend to last a hell of a lot longer than the cheaper counterparts. Not that these are overly expensive for what they are.
But they also protect the workpiece. I mean, so I've got an old hose here, which I'll just show for later. This has kind of been put together with a Jubilee clip, and it's got corners and sharp edges all over it. Yep. And if you're in a kitchen and you hit something by mistake, especially after it's finished, you're going to be well annoyed that that will damage your finish, whereas those are all protected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now we've got all our fittings, we've got our hose that we've selected. All we need to make sure we're doing is use PTFE tape around all of the threads and tighten those up with a spanner, and that is going to get your air through the hose to your gun, and you're then able to spray.
Absolutely. The last thing, if I was going to add anything onto this, is that these hoses have a 10mm internal diameter, which means you don't lose too much pressure on a long run. You can put 3 of these together, can't you?
Yes.
When you're spraying.
Yep,
whereas lots of other hoses out there are either 6mm or 8mm internal diameter, and if you did your 30 meters of that, you'd definitely lose pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Great stuff.
Okay.